I think higher education should be a focus in this campaign. I think that higher education is one of the most important sectors of our economy. It's really important both for our social and economic development as a province. So the notion that we would spend so much money on higher education but it not receive attention in a provincial election is a little bit strange. I think that it's really important for all the parties to say something about higher education. I think we have a right to know what they have in mind. I think we have a right to know what their plan is. Again, because it's such an important area of our economy. I think some of the key issues are about tuition. I think they're about funding. I think they are about the way in which higher education is being positioned in terms of our knowledge and innovation systems in the province of Ontario. It's about the relationship between higher education and the labor market and the transitions that take place there. And I don't think there's a single right answer on any of those policy dimensions. But for example, I think with university funding, I think we need to know where funding is in relation to the priorities of the government, and recognizing there's dozens of funding priorities. But where does higher education fit into that? What are our expectations over the next 5 years or 4 years in terms of a level of funding that is going to go to higher education? Is this a high or low priority, those kinds of things? Mm-hmm. So there's a whole host of issues that I think are really important to professors and academic librarians. So the question is, what do the parties have to say about those issues? And for the members of OCUFA and for academic professors and librarians to essentially be knowledgeable consumers as they're making a decision about who to vote for. I think the idea is what are the parties that best represent their interests in these conversations? One thing I think that would make the most difference of the sector, or at least give us the greatest sense of our ability to move forward, it would be a plan. The one thing that Ontario has been missing for, to be honest, multiple generations, has been a kind of plan for post-secondary education. And so it's not just about funding or tuition. It really is a sense of where do we want higher education to go in the province of Ontario, recognizing that sometimes that means that some institutions will move ahead and that we have to make sometimes some tough decisions. But what I haven't seen, and I think is necessary, is a real plan. I think that it is important for the government to have a more nuanced understanding of how to move forward in certain directions within the system. We've talked a lot about differentiation, we've talked a lot about institutional diversity, we've talked about funding, we've talked about tuition. I don't think we've ever put it all together. And so this is one of the few jurisdictions I can think of this size and magnitude where there isn't something like a government plan for the sector that says this is what we're trying to accomplish over the next 5 or 10 years. This is how we're going to allocate our funds in order to accomplish that. This is what we think the priorities are. And I think that would be a very useful kind of policy step with the notion of saying this is such an important issue, we can't just let it slide. We really have to develop an understanding of where the province of Ontario should go in this sector. I think the conversation about jobs has really been about trying to stimulate job creation on the business side, because I think we're still recovering from the recession, and there's still a sense that that's the part that's missing. I think it's equally important for people to recognize that the importance of skilled human resources within the Ontario system is a key to the development of that. The universities and colleges play a very key role in that. If this is about jobs, how do we prepare people for this rapidly changing labor market? How do we deal with the transition of recent immigrants to Canada, and recent immigrants to Ontario as they move into that labor force? We have a generation of individuals who are now in transition from manufacturing and from other sectors. How do we transition those individuals into the new positions and the new jobs that may become available as a function of these changes in the labor market? And all of those, I think, various issues to some extent intersect with higher education, because most of them involve some sort of an educational component at a very high level. The idea of ensuring that we have the highly educated labor and socially developed individuals within our society, that's, I think, key to job creation.